Welcome back. We're here for episode number 33. This is starting a new series, I guess. I mean, it's nothing brand new, but it's some post-game analysis that we're going to start doing, and we're going to start releasing after every game, obviously throughout the rest of the season. You'll be expecting these either Sunday or Monday of every week. We really appreciate all the support that you guys have been showing us and commenting and liking and turning on notifications. We definitely see it and we really appreciate it. So this video, we'll get into it. This is just straightly a post-game analysis, what we thought, what we saw, our opinions and the implications of this coming up. So Jose, do you want to lead us off with something that stuck out? Do we want to go first, quarter by quarter? What do you think?
I think the biggest thing that stuck out is obviously Spencer Rattler. I mean, we all expect him to be, just as good, if not better, than guys like Baker and Kyler, but he still has times where he makes mistakes that a young quarterback makes, which last year was excusable because it was his first year starting, first year actually running the offense. But now, you've got good weapons out there. The offensive line was a little suspect, especially in the first quarter, because they kept getting false starts, and that was frustrating, but that will adjust itself as the season goes on. I think it seems to happen almost every year. So I'm not too concerned on that. But if Spencer just keeps throwing the balls into double coverage, or because there wasn't really a ball that I can remember where the defensive player just made a great play. It was just there was a safety that he didn't see, and it got snagged. And he really should have had 3 picks if it wasn't for that one called back for pass interference, which I didn't think it was, but luckily it was in the Sooners' favor. So that's my biggest thing, at least for the offense.
Yeah. Brandon, what do you think?
Yeah, Spencer didn't play as well as you'd like him to play, but just like the offensive line, I think that's something that's going to eventually play itself out. Spencer last year got benched and then came back and finished with like 28 touchdowns, or not 28, but like 24 touchdowns to 2 picks the rest of the season. Spencer's a guy I still have all the confidence in the world, and I think he's going to figure it out. Defensively, I think, they started off real bad. Tulane marching down the field right away. First 2 drives, easy. Like we couldn't stop anything. After that second touchdown they got midway through the first quarter, I think we saw the team for about a quarter and a half. We saw the team we expected to see. And then, we forced 3 turnovers. We getting sacks on 4th down, held them scoreless in the second quarter, outscored them 23-0 in the second quarter. I think that second quarter, midway through the first and second quarter, is a team that we expected to see all game. We just didn't get it all game, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's, if you guys watched anything that, the preview that we released last week, I remember saying, I said that I thought OU was going to come in hyped up and be a little jazzed up and just not play smart football, which they didn't. And, I thought Tulane was going to score 17 points, which you guys thought I was crazy. But, if you would have told me 35 points, I would have said you're totally insane. It seems like this is, I don't want to overreact, but it's a reoccurring deal of even a slow start, that's fine. But we get up big and then we let off the gas. Mm-hmm. But then the biggest thing I didn't like was I didn't like towards the middle of the third quarter when Lincoln went for it on 4th and 1 at like our own 45, 46. No. I see. Here's the problem. At that time, it was, what was it? It was 37-14. Okay. 37-14. The defense played fantastic, shut out in the second quarter. Why put your team in a bad spot? That's the thing. I know most of the times we probably get it, but why not punt them deep? We've got a great punter now. You pin them down around their own 20. You get the defense there in a great spot. They probably would get a stop, and then no momentum would have started. It's like this weird deal where Lincoln will be really aggressive, let off the gas, and realize he's letting off the gas and he's feeling a little bit, or he gets over aggressive and not thinking about what happens if I don't get it. And then he doesn't get it. And then they've got a short field. And then they score. And it's like, okay, 37-22, whatever, midway through the third. But that one drove me insane. I know most of the time we get that, but I know we're better than Tulane. But at the same time, you have to play solid football all the way around. And there, I'm sure all the analytics said you punt. You're up, what was it, 23 points in early, mid third quarter, you punt.
Yeah, like you said, there's no reason to put your defense in that situation. Like now you're giving an offense that, I mean, to start the game, they were just driving down the field on the defense. You're giving a short field, and now you just got to hope that our guys can get a stop, which at that point they were showing that they were doing it consistently enough. But like you said, the momentum shifted there. And I think what we noticed too is that our lack of running back depth is going to hurt us. Like I think Kennedy Brooks had a great game.
Kennedy Brooks looked like he never left. Like,
yeah,
you would never known he took a year off.
Exactly. I don't know. I maybe it was just a one game thing. Eric Gray did okay, but we need him to pretty much produce the same as Kennedy Brooks. Like those guys can't be slacking behind each other because as soon as we don't have an established running game, the offense is just not as productive as it can be. And we definitely Lincoln and OU's offense for some reason is known for airing out the ball, but if you really watch it, we have to establish the run game before we can even start throwing it down the field to Mims and Hazelwood and all the weapons that Spencer has.
Yeah. See the 4th and 1 thing, I'm gonna go against you guys, and I personally loved it. I was hoping we went for it when that happened because it's easy to sit here now that it obviously didn't work and nitpick and criticize the decision, but at the same time, if Kennedy Brooks does get that yard and the line holds up, then you know we're at midfield, midway through the third, up 23, and you punch it in, the game's over. Essentially, it's over. If you take a 44-14 lead late in the third, it's over.
But my counterpoint to that is, if you still punt, well, like what's the risk reward? If you punt, what's the real risk? You're up 23. What's the reward for you?
Well, they can still score. Like
but they have to go 70, 80 yards, not 40.
Yeah, I mean, but they can still. I mean, I don't know.
But it's really those not off the table. But that right there, stuffing us on 4th and 1 was a momentum changer. That was it. That was the spark. That's what started this whole deal of coming back. They missed a field goal. Their kicker on their first possession missed it bad.
Yeah.
There was no, I get being aggressive, but at the same time, you have to play fundamental. Like sometimes I think Lincoln overthinks it, because I'm going to go back to that Georgia Rose Bowl game. Why squib it? I just think sometimes
that one doesn't make sense to me. I don't.
But I just think he overthinks it, and you got to trust that defense. I mean, I don't know how many yards they gave up in the second quarter. It was hardly any.
They had -3 midway through the second quarter, or something like that. The defense was all over the place in the second quarter.
I mean, two turnovers.
That second quarter, offensively, defensively, everything was clicking. That's the team we expected to see all game. Unfortunately, we got 1 quarter of what we can be. We got 1 quarter of the potential that this team can be, and hopefully will be the rest of the season.
Yeah. There seemed to be a lot of rotation though in the defense after that second quarter.
I was gonna bring that up because me and Jerry were watching, the post game press conferences or whatever today, and Lincoln actually he mentioned that specifically. He was like, these first couple of weeks, we're going to rotate in a lot of guys to try and see like, okay, who sticks, who's going to, what the defensive rotation is going to be going forward. Because, a guy like Latrell McCutcheon, who I think we all think is going to be really, really good, played a hell of a lot more than I was expecting to see him yesterday, especially in a close game. Same thing with some of the other guys. Joshua Eaton played a lot more than I was anticipating. We rotate a lot of young guys in the secondary. Sure on the line too. Some guys that I, didn't expect to see play as much as they did, but I think by week 3 or 4, unfortunately, because it's what the Sooners do. They can't just come out of the gate hot. Week 3 or 4 is by the time that we should probably see, us being good.
Yeah, I was curious what the actual total yards were for Tulane in that second quarter. 19.
Yeah,
19 yards.
Shut down.
That second quarter that's what we want.
I just think if we would have punted there, and you're right. If we would have gotten that 4th down and maybe drove down the field, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But even if we would have gotten it, I still, when they rolled out there, I was like, I don't like this at all. And maybe that's just my way of thinking. And, back in the day when our defense was absolutely horrible, I get it. What
It's
difference does
just
it make if
it's I think that's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Because if you do punt the ball and end up scoring, then everyone's gonna go, we should have just went for it on 4th and 1 from our own midfield. It's 1 yard. Get 1 yard and then keep driving.
Yeah.
But it's
See,
there's no winning there.
I just don't think the way that defense was playing, they were going to be able to go 80 yards on us.
And also the way the offense was playing in the second half, like we scored 1 field goal the entire second half. There's no reason to risk that because the defense at that point was playing better than our offense.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I guess what it comes back to is they just showed up and were like, okay, well, they woke up in the second quarter like, okay, well, we'll just play 1 good quarter. That'll be enough. We'll put them away. They didn't really want to be there.
No, I think we bought into our own hype a little too much. I think we probably thought we're just going to show up, beat the hell out of these guys. They're just going to roll over essentially. Like Tulane doesn't like they're going to be scared of us because our logo says OU or something. Like I don't know. It was weird. Like we have to Tulane. No one we play is going to give a shit that we have OU on our helmets or Sooners on our chest. They're going to go out there and try to beat us. Like we need to play as if people. Yeah.
We do have to give props to the quarterback, though. That guy was getting smoked all the second quarter and the first half of the third quarter, and he was still able. Like he walked off for a play or two because they thought he had a concussion or something, but he came right back. I think he had a better game than Spencer Rattler overall as an individual.
Did, but that's another thing that I don't understand. There was a play late, that targeting call on Key Lawrence. That came on a 2nd down or 3rd down. I can't remember exactly, but there was a holding on Tulane. So it would have negated that run. And live, it did look like targeting, I mean, the helmet came off everything. It looked like targeting. However, when you watch the replay, it's clearly not targeting. And they overturned the targeting call. So my issue is if you overturn the targeting call, you're acknowledging that it wasn't a penalty, correct?
Yeah.
Like there was nothing wrong there. Why in the hell does that 15-yard penalty stay then? I don't understand why they can't.
Do they call it unnecessary roughness after the fact?
I don't
for not targeting, even though it's not targeting.
If you take away the targeting, you should also take away the 15-yard penalty, because that drive they ended up scoring. They went from scoring on that drive instead of having 3rd and long in their own territory.
Yeah, I don't remember if they replaced I guess it's just replacing the penalty from a personal foul, so that which would have put Key out of the game to unnecessary roughness.
If you overturn the targeting call, you should overturn the 15-yard penalty. That's my thinking on it.
Well, was it not? Did they? I must have.
They keep it.
That 15-yard penalty stays, and it makes no sense to me.
Yeah. So it's like they reviewed whether to eject him, but regardless, they're going to keep the penalty.
Yeah, because I mean, they literally acknowledged there was no targeting on the play. They said it on the ref. He made that call, but the penalty stands, and that I'll never be able to make sense of that.
Yeah, but okay, enough griping. I mean, we at the end of the day, it was a weird week 1. I mean, Fresno State gave Oregon all they could handle.
Montana beat Washington.
Yeah, it's just I don't know.
How about our in-state brothers struggling against Division I FCS Missouri State? Missouri State had a chance to tie that game with like 45 seconds left.
Yeah, I know. So I mean,
it could have been worse. It could have been way worse.
It was a weird week, but we squeaked it out, and it is what it is. And Tulane might go on. I mean, they're going to be a bowl team for sure. They might win 8 games this year. They're a solid team. If they play the way that they played against OU, they're going to win a lot of games in the American.
Which is if Tulane goes on to win, say they win 8 or 9 games and they finish 18 or 17 in the country or whatever, then this game we're going to feel a lot better about, because we kind of sleptwalked to a win against them. Like, you know what I mean? Like we were beating them handedly, 37-14, and we should have, like Lincoln said, that we almost let one get away that had no business getting away. And that's the truest thing.
Yeah, but let's talk about like some good stuff and who you guys are really impressed with. Anyone that in particular that stood out to you, Brandon?
Billy Bowman Jr.
Yeah,
that first defensive series of the third quarter, maybe first or second, I can't remember exactly. They ran some sort of like screen play, maybe a handoff. He forced a fumble. He stripped the guy and almost dove in there and recovered his own fumble that he forced. And then later in the third quarter, he had a ball that he jumped in front of, made a real nice play on it, and should have picked it off, honestly, but still got in there and made a play. Defensively, Billy Bowman, Reggie Grimes stood out to me too. I think he looked really good in his first, real game action. That on that fourth down sack, that was one of the prettiest moves I've seen from a young guy, where he ducked underneath the tackle and blew the quarterback up. I think he strip sacked him. Offensively, Kennedy Brooks, Mario Williams.
Yeah. Jose, what about you?
For me, it was Isaiah Thomas. That dude was all over the backfield. And then he forced 2 fumbles. So pretty good day for him. And then Billy Bowman as well, just because I love that brother. And I'm glad that he's getting to play a lot. And hopefully he is a starter like I predicted, but we'll see. On the offensive side, still Marvin Mims. That he didn't slow down.
Yeah, he's still that guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Marvin Mims was like the highlight of the offense for me. I think the rest was
Kennedy.
Yeah, but I expected one of the running backs to do great, but I want to see them both perform together. And maybe just because I'm nitpicking here, but he did have a great game. I'm not saying he didn't, but I'm also just disappointed overall in the second half performance with the offense. Like, how do you not score a point, dude? Like, yeah. But so that's just retrospectively, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, defense, I was going to say Reggie Grimes, which I found was interesting. Yeah, that one play where he ducked down and he, sacked him. It was insane. But what's crazy is we heard all camp is like Ethan Downs. And like the last week or two is, oh, Reggie Grimes is really coming on. I don't know if he just turned it on and figured it out, but he looked great. And I mean, he was a problem. You put Isaiah Thomas on the bench, you bring him in, there's like almost no drop off, which is awesome to even think about, that we have that many pass rushers. I mean, of course, yeah, I like Billy Bowman. I know Pat Fields made a few good plays. Key Lawrence also, he lowered the boom.
That deep ball breakup Pat Fields had in the end zone. One of the best plays I think I saw all day from the defense. Where he
and then also Fields, I can't remember if it was in the second quarter or when it was kind of like a bubble screen type deal. He shot right through and ended up being a tackle for loss. I can't remember, but that was a really good one that stuck out. Not offensively, special teams. I mean, Gabe Burkage, coming in,
great game.
350 plus. I mean, he did miss that one.
He missed that gimme though. Yeah, I said gimme.
Yeah.
But he pushed that one bad.
Yeah, he did. I don't know what happened there, but I mean, 350 plus. I mean, he's the first Sooner to ever do that in one game. We would have lost if it wasn't for him. I mean, the way it went. I mean, he was the only one that scored in the second half, so you got to give him some credit. Offensively, of course. I mean, you already said Marvin Mims, but I like the way Hazelwood looked. He didn't get a ton of looks. I know he got a couple balls thrown his way. The very first play or very first pass that Spencer tried to throw to him, that was a pick, but it was a poorly thrown ball. And I think he's going to be heavily involved. Obviously Mims will be, but Mike Woods wasn't quite. Huh?
What'd you think of Mario Williams?
Yeah, I thought he was good. He showed a lot of energy, especially after he scored. He was pumped up.
It was fun to watch.
He also dropped a touchdown though too. That ball Spencer put out on the back, I think it was a back shoulder throw. Mm-hmm. That was one of the best throws Spencer threw all day, and that should have absolutely been a touchdown. And kind of got like Mario on that one.
Yeah, no, he was great. Mike Woods wasn't involved as much as I was hoping he would be, but that's not to say that he won't be. Down the road, there's a lot of rotating people. I mean, overall, the offensive line, I was extremely frustrated with the false starts. That was just driving me insane because those are just mental errors. But it's week one, it is what it is, and no one's set in stone as far as starting positions go. It seems like right now.
No,
I know
it's tryouts,
offensively and defensively. I mean, Clayton Smith got in the game a handful of series. Danny Stetson was out there a little bit. It was obviously we already mentioned the DBs that we were shuffling in and out. There's a lot that this team is not set yet as far as what we're going to be moving forward, in the thick of the season.
Yeah, well, and defensively, I mean, Grinch is going to rotate a bunch of guys. I don't think that's going to change, maybe percentage-wise, how many plays goes to whoever. But I would think the offensive line is going to be settled in the next couple of weeks. But Anton Harrison had a false start. I think probably the most solid guy. I mean, I think Chris Murray probably had a false. I think he had a false start too, if I remember right.
I think he was like one of the first or second guy.
He looked pretty good, but I will say the defensive tackle for Tulane, the best player on their team, I forget his name. I know we talked about him in the preview. He gave Congo, however you say his name, all he could handle all game long. That defensive tackle is actually really good. Gosh, I forget his name now. That's going to frustrate me if I don't remember it. But I wonder if Andrew Rame's going to get in there, and I feel like there's an opportunity for him to get going.
Definitely.
I'm sure they'll both get a shot next week against Western Carolina. I imagine Congo and Rame will both be in the game for that one.
Do you guys have any like interesting takes? What you expect over the next 2 weeks during the tryouts for the guys?
Jeffrey Johnson's the nose tackle before we move on. Brandon, go ahead. Nothing. So like
hot takes, anything. Take. So while you guys think about it, I'll just throw mine out because I've been thinking about it all day. If Spencer keeps having these mental errors or just not seeing the field the way that Lincoln expects his starting quarterback to, I would expect Caleb Williams to play the second half of the Western Carolina game and to start the Nebraska game.
I think Caleb Williams will play the whole second half regardless, because I think that game should be one that we are up huge at halftime against an FCS team there. I think Caleb Williams will have a lot of playing time anyway.
Well, the reason I say it's because there's no excuse to have one pick is all right, but he should have had 3. Like there's something missing in what you're doing in your reads where you're messing up. Either you're trying to improvise and be Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes when you don't even know how to run the offense completely yet, or he just isn't as good at reading a defense as Lincoln wants him to be.
I think what it comes down to is I don't think he doesn't know what he's doing. I think they just didn't care. I really think it came down to the team just didn't get up for it.
I think we'll see a different team moving forward this season. I think this week for them is going to suck. I think Lincoln Riley and Grinch are both in a place where they're pissed off at what they saw.
There's no excuse though
for that.
We can't say every time we have a bad week we just didn't feel like showing up. Like we expect to be national champions at the end of this year, and you have to blow people out. Like Alabama.
I understand. But what if these next 3 weeks we come with our hair on fire and beat the hell out of all three?
That's good. But you have to look at teams that are like in Alabama. Like they showed up against a good team in Miami, and they're not going to just not show up against a Citadel later on in the year. They're going to.
They did it like 2 years ago. They were either trailing to Citadel at halftime
and then they turned it on and never looked back. But we turned it on for one quarter.
The Citadel is far worse than
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. But they're not. As soon as they see like, oh shit, we're in trouble, they're not looking back. And we can't keep having this excuse like, oh well, we showed up for a quarter and then just didn't feel like coming back in the second half. Like, come on, boys. This is a year where this is your prime opportunity. Like we saw around the country, every top team struggled. Other than Alabama, everyone had a struggling game. Even Georgia, and they were playing Clemson. Like Clemson didn't score a touchdown. It's wide open this year. And I think Georgia is actually better than Alabama personally, but it's a wide open field. Like there's not a clear cut. This is the team you got to beat.
Yeah. The one thing I will say though, that is something to think about, and I get getting up for every game. I don't want us to forget that the 2014 Ohio State Buckeyes. Do you remember when they lost against Virginia Tech, the team that they should not have lost to? I mean, they came back and they won. So just because we squeaked one out. I mean, I don't know.
But hey, it's saying we escaped or we survived is a lot better right now than if we were upset yesterday.
That's true.
At the end of the day, as shitty as it was, as bad as we might have looked or as much as we may have hated that game, at the end of the day, there's a 1 in the win column and there's a 0 in the loss column. And that is truly, that's at this point what matters. I still think we need to relax. Like Aaron Rodgers said it best. What was it, a couple years ago when the Packers were struggling or slumping? You see RELAX on TV.
Yeah.
Well, we just relax.
guess something I am interested in, or what I found interesting was where was Drake Stoops?
Yeah, I didn't see him one time.
Like is there like I don't know why
So, yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know if we showed our full hand week one. I think there's going to be a lot of changes coming, or as the season progresses.
Well,
Definitely.
if they keep having mental errors like that, whoever keeps having the false starts in the offensive line, that's going to be a good reason to get benched.
Biedenbaugh's upset. I'm sure the entire coaching staff is just not having a good Sunday right now. But again, they're probably also we're 1-0. At least last year we started off 0-2 with a loss to a Kansas State team that's probably comparable to this Tulane team that we just played in a very similar game, if you think about it, in which we were up big and then just forgot to play football, and they came back all the way and won. This year, at least, they even recovered the onside kick late in the game, and the defense settled in, and when it mattered, they didn't let them score.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, we started 1-2, right? Didn't we win our first game?
Oh, yeah. I forget
1-2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really count that. Yeah.
I don't know. I was going to say, I don't think I really have any hot takes other than I think the only set starter is Spencer Rattler on every side of the ball, and maybe Nick Bonino and Isaiah Thomas. There's like 3 for sure starters, and that's about it. I mean, Perrion, yeah, but I think everyone else, there's no starting position.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. But overall, what are your guys' thoughts moving forward for the team?
I mean, we'll be fine. I don't think we're gonna I don't suspect to lose like the hardest game. The next hardest game I guess we have is Iowa State, or is Texas Kansas before that?
We have Texas before that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Texas, I guess, is on the road, but I don't think we should struggle against Kansas State. Like, we should be fine now. That's further into the season where we should know who's on the roster, who's starting, like the rotation. So I guess Texas is really the next hardest game. So we should go into that undefeated. But after this week, we'll probably drop in the rankings to 3. I was telling Brandon before we recorded, that's really as low as it should be fair. If they put Ohio State over us, then we're going backwards to people not really looking at Oklahoma and the whole picture and just saying, well, you guys had a bad game against a team that none of us expected to have a good game, and we'll just kind of push you down as far as we can.
Yeah. I mean, I think this was a good wake-up call, rather than having a wake-up call as far as in losing. Like, it seems like last year we had a couple wake-up calls because we were, young and whatnot. But this one we had a wake-up call but still won. That's the key.
Yeah.
Having a wake-up call and not losing, that's the most ideal scenario. I mean, it's like any Sooner team. It seems like every year we kind of trip a couple times or trip once or twice, and then they start to get better. As the season progresses, they typically get better, and they should take care of Western Carolina. Nebraska is going to be a track meet. I mean, they're going to take care of them pretty cool. You would think. I know. I thought Tulane was going to be. Yeah. I think they'll get up for the Nebraska game. I mean, it's Nebraska, just the name. I just don't think. The only one I'm really scared about is honestly Kansas State because it's like PTSD for me, but they'll be fine. They'll figure it out. I think we're going to be happy when we look back that we had this game, down the road. It's better to have a close game than actually a loss in like October. That's a lot tougher to come back.
100%. That's the biggest takeaway is the Sooners are 1-0. A win is a win, as ugly and as bad as it looks. It's at the end of the season, if you go 12-0, which I think I still expect, then if we start looking good like we did last year, the last 5 games of the season, we didn't trail once. Like, that's the team. I mean, this team can still do that, and I think they still will do that. And if that happens, like we expect it to, and OU ends up running the table and looking really good, I promise you not one of us is going to look back at week 1 and be like, remember we almost lost to Tulane, or we didn't play good against Tulane. Like, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter to anybody how week 1 looks.
The only way it's going to affect Sooners at this point is in ranking at the end of the year for the playoff, being between the 1 or the 3 seed, because obviously we all expect Alabama to just be blowing people out. But so that having a close game against Tulane will push us to number 2.
But I mean,
yeah,
2 or 1 in the college football playoff ranking doesn't mean. I mean, I guess it does, but
it does because one gets to be closer to home.
Yeah. And but
the biggest thing I've got to say is Lincoln, just don't take your foot off the gas. And when you've got your foot on the gas, use common sense and just punt at your own 40. Please, I don't care if you're up big. Punt
every single time.
Play the statistics.
You don't play the statistics.
You got a transfer punter for a reason. Don't just let him vibe on the bench.
You punt on 4th and 8, 4th and 7, 4th and 5, 4th and 4. At 4th and 1 near your own midfield line, up 23, you freaking go for it every single time.
No, I don't agree with it. No.
Especially when your offense can't score.
You play to win the game.
Except we were winning. And then because of that, you could say the momentum shifted to almost make us lose.
You're right. In this particular case, you're right. But if, like I said, if we get it and then we end up scoring that drive, everyone's going to look back and be like, he's a genius. He's so smart.
It's a different story if it's not, though. It's a different story if the offense would have scored. Like if it would have just never been a close game. Like Tulane could have kept scoring and we can just, our biggest gripe could be our defense. But our offense also looked bad in the second half.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we scored 3 points in the second half, but they won.
Yeah. Anyway, it is what it is. We're 1-0.
1-0. It's ugly, but it's 1-0. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Jose, Brandon, I think those are our final thoughts. Unless you guys have something else, I think that's all I've got.
Look forward to drafting a better fantasy team than you guys tonight.
Yeah, right. So, all right. Well, rolling into week 2 now. Western Carolina. We'll see what happens. That one should be over by halftime. And if it isn't, that's when I'll start to get concerned and maybe we'll start, the emergency alerts can start going off.
Then we're going to have to, we're in a bad spot.
Nah, they'll probably take it out on Western Carolina and probably beat them like 60-12.
These poor, whatever the heck they're called, Western Carolinas they're in for the bad time.
So, all right. Well, we really appreciate the support. If you haven't made it this far, please hit that like button. And if you hadn't already, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications. We'll be releasing videos, a couple, 2-3 a week. We'll have a game preview for Western Carolina coming out later this week. And soon we'll be starting our Sooners in the NFL segment after week 1 of the NFL, where we discuss different Sooners and how they're doing and what their ceilings are for this upcoming season. So we really appreciate it. Thanks.